clean up around my lathe here. Getting stuff ready to go for the next one here. So I'm going to switch my camera over to my overhead table view. Oh, isn't that pretty? I got a nice little look there. This is going to be fun. This is metal reactive paint. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with it, but what it is it allows you to create a very, you apply like a copper paint to a specialized copper paint that has metal pigment, actually copper, or you can get iron, copper, and bronze, I believe what it is. I'm going to turn that over. And I know it's really pretty wood, but it's going to be pretty in the inside too, so we can cover this with this stuff. The only drawback is you can't use it for food. This stuff is definitely not food safe, so I would not recommend it for any utilitarian items. And I need to adjust my fan so it's blowing on me instead of across the shop, because it's like, believe it or not, I'm suffering through it is 97 degrees outside where I'm at already. Isn't that incredible? Summer is definitely here. So I'm going to grab me my little cup of sponges here. And the first thing you want to do, see this, you got this called Modern Masters. You can get it through Craft Supplies and a few other outlets. I get mine from Craft Supplies because I just know they have it. And it's just the metal effects primer. They sell it in a kit if you want to buy it in a kit, or you can buy separate things if you want to do it that way. This is the copper. I don't like the iron. What iron is, some people like it. It's just rust. You apply the corrosive on it, and it turns it to rust, and it keeps rusting. It won't stop rusting until all that iron in the paint is used up and turned into rust. And that could take years before that happens. But with this, I like the look of this. It blasts it really fast as far as how fast it goes, changes it. Corrosively, it'll turn it blue. I believe this is the blue one. Either green or blue. It depends on the kind of corrosive liquid you get for it. I wouldn't recommend. This is one of the reasons why it's not food safe. This is an acid. Mix that with the metal pigments in here, and it's just not food friendly. So I can't stress that enough. So the first thing you want to do, this is basically kind of like acrylic paint. It's a primer you want to add first to the piece. It's just a dark piece of come on, paint. Come on. Wow, I gotta get my pliers. This one is really jammed on there. I just had it open the other day and it's already dried shut. All right, come here. There we go. And I've got my little Dixie cups for. Put the paint in. And once it's dry, I can just toss them. There we go. I'm gonna make sure you shake it good. This is basically sort of like an acrylic paint. But what this does, it fills in all the pores and the cracks and everything else that will show through the. See, it's kind of a rubbery latex type of paint. And so I pour some in there. And it fills in all the voids and the cracks and stuff. So when you apply the metal, it looks like metal. It doesn't. You won't see a bunch of the grain showing through. You don't really want that because it'll look like, well, that's weird. It's got metal, but it's made out of wood. Look, it looks like wood but metal. So, we're just going to apply a kind of a liberal coat of this, and we're going to take it over to the blow dryer once I get it all done. Blow dry it. Then I'll use a white Scotch pad and use it just to smooth it out, get rid of as much of the brush marks as we can get. And it's pretty kind of self-smoothing. That's the whole reason that we use this. I prefer buying this. I know there's wood turners that they just go to the hobby store and buy a dark or type of dark base like this in acrylic paints, but it's hard to get the brush, smooth out the brush marks. You almost have to sand it smooth with the lathe running to get the brush marks going. This, once it's dry, I can just use a Scotch pad and pretty much get rid of all that. This is a lot easier. I should have put my gloves on, but I'll get those on in a second here. I'm not painting the furthest rim, that way I can sit there and I can turn the piece while I'm painting it. Now you're more than welcome, if you're going to do this too, do the painting on your lathe and just use it as like a third hand while you're painting it and applying all the the copper paint and everything if you want. So there we go. I'm just going to take this over to my blow dryer's going to reach this far. It might. I have another plug over here that it might reach. So let's grab that. So I don't want to have to keep carrying it back and forth. All right, here we go. Yeah, there. I got it. All right, so we're just going to move some of this stuff out of the way that's going to blow around. There. We want the blow dryer to blow our stuff away, and you put the lid on top of the paint. There we go. I've done in-person demos using this stuff, and people just like, wow, they can't believe it. It dries pretty quick just using the blow dryer. Do the little finger touch test. It's dry. That's good. So next thing we want to do is we want to apply the copper. The catch thing, applying the copper, you don't want it to dry. Try to put it on as fast as you can, because for the corrosive acid that comes with it, it's not really an acid. I put it on my fingers, it doesn't hurt. But you gotta make sure it's really good and shaken to get those metal particles going. But if it dries, this stuff does not work as well, not even close. And I've tried, painting part of it and then spraying it or dabbing it on, and actually it never comes out quite right because you can tell where it's been divided into sections. It's because the way this stuff works. All right, so it's good mixed. You can see the shyness of that copper pigment there. So we gotta go kind of quick on this. You want to be liberal with it. You don't want to be chintzy. Just apply it as fast as you can. Make sure you get good coverage. It goes on pretty smooth and quick. Now make sure you don't have any runs though, because that definitely shows up when you add the corrosive to it. So I already got that half already done. So I'm going as fast as I can here. And there's different ways of applying the what I call the corrosive bath, I guess. I like to either use a fine mist spray bottle, not the kind you find at the hardware store, Not those spray bottles, but the kind you find in the makeup departments in your local drugstore. You have a nice fine mist to them. And I think that's as far as I'm going to go with that before it dries. All right, so I'm going to spray one side with it. I'm going to use a sponge on the other side so you guys can see what the difference is here. And it doesn't take long for it to start corroding up. Just a matter of minutes, really. I can already see it working in the metal there. Kind of, you can see it shift the metal. So now I'm going to spray it on a sea sponge there. Get it good and wet. Yeah, this gives it a whole different effect here, and you just kind of blot it on. And you'll be able to see the difference once it kicks in. Okay, so half of it's sponged on, the other half sprayed on. Now we just gotta let it dry a little while. You can't speed the drying, you can't take a blow dryer to it. I wish you could. And let's see if it's okay. Down in this area here, you can see it's starting to turn green already down there, but that's because this stuff has got really thick. But it is already changing color. I'm not sure if you guys can see the different how it's changing light and dark. You know what? We're gonna give it like 5 minutes, and we can just talk and answer any questions while it sits. And you guys, I'll keep it on the camera, and you guys are gonna see this thing just change right before your eyes. It's crazy what it does. Oh, and this stuff, I keep 2 bottles because if it dries in that tube, when this is over, I'm going to pour it into another spray bottle, but not spray it. Because once it gets up into that nozzle and it dries, it clogs it up. That's why I keep 2 of them. What I'll do is I'll pour that in there, and then I'll put water in the other bottle and spray it and clean it. And that I always have like 2 bottles, one with water and the other one has that stuff in it. So just so you know, okay, so we can really dark copper showing right there. That's going to look pretty once it's done. Doing what it's doing. You can see it turning green already. Yeah, see? Interesting, huh? I missed a spot there. Hopefully it'll still take. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. Depends on how dry it is. But sometimes it's nice just to have a area that's not, showing green. Showing that, oh, look, there's copper under there after all. But it's either going to turn it green or blue. It looks like it's the green I put on there. You guys can see that. You guys see that turning green? Yeah, yeah.
So is this basically just coming to copper and iron are the 2, or are there any others?
Yeah, like I said, there's the iron, which it'll create a rust. It'll just keep rusting and rusting. If you you want to make something that looks like iron came off, that's been sitting outside for a long time, then that's the way to go. Just get that stuff. And I need to put this lid on there a little bit tighter later. I don't want to get copper all over my fingers. And then they got the copper like this, and then they have a bronze. So, what looks best is if you're using copper, you want to use green, because eventually it's going to turn that green color like the Statue of Liberty. It's going to be that same green. Bronze, you usually use blue, the blue corrosive spray or liquid, and it'll turn instead of green, it'll turn it blue where you applied it. And then the iron, you don't apply either the blue or the green to that because it won't do anything. That takes a special spray or liquid, and all it does is just make it rust really fast, and it'll keep rusting and rusting. That's the drawback to it. And you can stop the rusting if you spray it with a finish. The only problem with doing that, though, it darkens it up big time. If you've ever sprayed something, even water on rust, and how dark it gets, you spray a finish on it, which you have to do. You can't apply you don't really want to use a brush finish. You need to use a spray finish on this stuff. It does darken it, which is the drawback to using this stuff. If I was to even spray like a clear lacquer, it doesn't matter if it's gloss or satin or whatever. It's gonna take that green and just really darken it. And if you like that look, that's fine. That's great. But otherwise, it just kind of takes and ruins the piece a little bit when you do that. So let me lift this up towards the camera. You guys can really see that. Oop. There we go. See what it's doing there. It's not done. Tomorrow afternoon, after 24 hours, you wouldn't even recognize this piece. It's going to be like, you wouldn't believe green. Because even where it's showing green now, that's just where the corrosive was the thickest. Where it was the thinnest takes longer for it to show up. But it will fill in eventually. You just got to give it a day or two. And it does give it a copper look. It looks like once that corrosive is on there, it looks like, oh man, look at that. And then you pick it up and it's wood inside. That's kind of really throws people off a little bit. It's like, why is it metal outside and wood on the inside? I get that at craft fairs. It's like, how did you do that? How did you get metal on top of the wood or the wood on top of the metal? And I don't give away my secrets at the craft shows. I just tell them, that's just something I do. All right. So I'll probably post a picture of this in a couple of days on my Facebook page. It should pretty much be done, except for maybe a little bit of slight stuff, getting a little bit greener over a week. The major stuff happens in the first 2 days, and then after that, it takes a couple of weeks for it to finally finish getting as corrosive as it's going to get. So I'll see you all later.